I love cities. I've spent my whole life growing up and living in cities, from Singapore to Bombay, from Beijing to Shanghai, London and Toronto. And I think I love cities because of their energy. Let's look at cities. They are hubs of talent where people come from all over the world with some of the brightest ideas and the biggest dreams. And they make us want to have bright ideas and big dreams. And they push us to do more and to be more. And that's what I think is so special about cities. But I would be lying if I told you that that's the only thing I've ever experienced inside a city. Because pretty much every one of those cities that's been so special to me and has shaped me and made me who I am today has also left me completely exhausted, completely overwhelmed, and crying myself to sleep many a night, sitting by myself going, what am I even doing here? Why do I work this hard? Why do this much for what? And it's a constant tug of war. I think for everybody living inside cities, you always feel that this is a land of opportunity. This is where I can do anything, and this is where I can be anything. But we have to work so very hard to get those things. We have to have a lot of pain and a lot of sacrifice just to enjoy that life inside that city. But that's an individual problem, right? It's a time management problem. It's a productivity problem. It's something that I'm supposed to take care of by myself. And you know, I'm a woman, so I'm an amazing multitasker. I'm the best multitasker in the world, so this shouldn't be a problem for me. Except as women, what we do is because we're so amazing at multitasking, we just take on more and more and more, and we overstretch ourselves and we overexhaust ourselves. And we assume that's an individual problem too, because we should know enough when to rein it in and to stop doing so much. But is it really an individual problem? Because if I'm living in a city that looks like that, how can I not push myself? If I want to navigate this day, how can I not overextend myself and try and do more and fit in more just so I can manage this day? How does that not push me to be in struggle all the time? So shouldn't we be looking at cities and city planners and asking them, how are you helping me get through my day? How are you helping me be less overwhelmed and manage my city better? And why should we care about this? Why should women be a focus, let's say, for cities to actually reinvent and redesign themselves? Well, women make up 48% to 54% of every country's population. That's half the population contributing towards the economic progress and success of these cities. Women are the childbearers, right? We're supposed to be responsible for the future generations of these cities that are going to keep on progressing and keep on being successful for decades to come. And women, let's face it, we're sort of the mental, the spiritual, the emotional sort of hearts of our cities sometimes. We build communities, we build societies together. So if that's our responsibility towards cities, then shouldn't cities be responsible to us? Shouldn't it become their mission to take care of us and make our lives easier so we can do our best work for those cities? So how do we go about looking at how to redesign a city for women in mind? Well, why don't we ask the women that actually live in cities? So how many of you here are, let's say, working mothers at the moment? If I could get like a show of hands. Right. So if you're a working mother in the city, what if I went to you and I asked you, what does your day look like when you move around a city? Do you find yourself running around a lot, doing a lot of errands? Yes. But whose fault is that really? It's my fault because I have just too many things in my plate? No. I have to run around a city and do lots of things because that's how a city is built. I have to overstretch myself because everything I want is in different places in the city. But what if my city was designed so I don't have to run around? If we design cities so they're multi-use and multi-purpose spaces, and we put more in one space so women don't waste their time running around, instead of maximize each of those moments for what they need, isn't that the way a city should be built? Maybe that would alleviate some of that stress. So let's look at working spaces. This is a co-working space inside Japan that has understood that. It's for mompreneurs. And you can sit there and you can work, and it's got a playroom attached with 2 nannies that take care of your children. That means moms can go to work, and they don't have to feel this guilt trip that I'm leaving my child at home and I'm not caring for my child and I'm only about work. And at the same time, when they need to work, they can because they know their children are being taken care of. And they know they're nearby. That's what we should be giving women. We should be allowing them to feel I am in control and I can manage this situation. And the same should go for our home places. If you look at our homes, we do the same thing on the weekend. Our weekends are to-do lists just like our weekdays. What's the difference? Because same thing, we're running around our cities. But what if we redeveloped our neighborhoods and our complexes so that we didn't have to run around so much? When surveyed, most women on weekends, especially if they have families, they're taking time out to do childcare, and at the same time, obviously, building itineraries and entertainment and how to manage all of it. This is an idea called Women Work City, and it's from Germany. The idea of this place is that everything you need is surrounding this one complex. There's courtyards and parks downstairs so children can play. They've even redesigned all the apartments so mothers can actually look down from the courtyard at their children and not feel that they have to, they're unsupervised downstairs. There are doctors, there are pharmacists, there's easy public transportation nearby, and there is a kindergarten on site that promises that there's space for every single child inside that complex. Imagine how that changes for a mother living inside this complex. Imagine a single mother living inside this complex. And when we come to single mothers, that's a whole new topic in itself. If you're a working mother and you have a support system and you have a husband or you have someone else that can help you out, that's really great. But what about single moms? Single moms have to do the double parenting work by themselves. And do we as societies go, oh, this is an admirable thing to do? No, we don't. Instead, governments and institutions make single mothers feel somehow that they're broken. Is that good for our society to make single moms feel like that they're broken? No, because all they want to do is feel included and capable, and like they're a family like anyone else. We owe it. There's a responsibility to make single mothers feel empowered and like they're doing a good job from the first day on. And that's what Finland has done. Since 1938, Finland has had a maternity box that they give without discrimination to all levels of parents and mothers. Inside this box is everything a mother needs to take care of her child for an entire year. We're talking thermal blankets, we're talking baby pins and everything else. And you know what's most amazing about this box? This part. The box converts into a sterile cot for that child. And you know why they did that? Because they realized that poor mothers don't have the best homes. They're not the cleanest homes. But if they give them a clean box to put their child in, they can lower infant mortality rate. And today's studies across Finland say that the infant mortality rate is the lowest in the world, and they attribute it to this one box. How much do you think that cardboard box costs, as opposed to what it costs us to take care of single mothers and all that, sort of emotional and mental difficulty that they go through every day? And the same thing comes down to breastfeeding. So there are a million articles out there that, tell all mothers you should breastfeed because your children will be far more intelligent. That's great. How are you supposed to manage breastfeeding and going to work every single day? There are some women who cannot breastfeed. So what do? We make them again feel like they're failing and they're falling apart somehow. They're not meeting certain standards. We need to take on a responsibility as cities to stop letting women feel like they're falling short of the equation and let them feel like they're meeting the equation, because they really are. After you put in your best effort, you should be credited for it. And that's what they've done in the Philippines. They've realized that there's a chance. If we take women who have and women who have not and put them together, we can help one another. So, inside the Philippines, if there are women who have surplus breast milk, they send it into this hospital, who bottle it and send it on to mothers who are unable to breastfeed their children, therefore taking care of a massive malnutrition problem inside the Philippines. And the last area I want to look at is safety. If we are spending our days running around cities all the time, we need to feel safe and fearless at all times in those cities. That is our God-given right. We have to feel that way. If we want to do our best work, you need to help me and help you to feel fearless. And this has become a huge topic that's come into the forefront because of India and because of all the rapes that have been happening in places like Delhi. And so there are women coming together in pain and in solidarity, pushing their governments, going, look, you've really got to look at how to make our cities safer. And so they've started to do that. So how do you begin to even see how a city could be safer? The same way. We're all sitting and living inside cities. We're all women. Ask the women. So they sent them out and they asked them to walk across the cities of Delhi. They gave them cameras, they gave them notebooks, and they said, note down when you feel unsafe. What makes you feel unsafe about that area? Take a picture of it and show it to us. And it's really not that complicated. What made women feel unsafe is situations like this, where they felt they were trapped between one environment and another environment, and there's a wall and a fence. Because women said, when I feel trapped between those two, I probably get trapped between those two. That's when I get harassed. But I feel safe in environments like this, when I have open storefronts and I know there are people watching me, when I have wide pavements and I know that people don't have to close in very close proximity to me. It's the same even if you think about motherhood as well. Wide pavements give you space to freely move. You're not struggling with your pram and trying to, direction yourself around people. Is it really a big deal to widen a pavement? I don't think so. Same with public transport. If we're working longer hours and we're contributing for longer hours, we're going to be going home late. a lot of women feel very unsafe going home late at night on public transport. That is a responsibility that we need to take on. The solution isn't that somebody has to take them home, that they just have to get over it. And Montreal realizes. They put together a women's group that actually had to monitor how women feel about public transport. And they came up with this concept, which is entre deux arrêts. That means between two stops. And it allows any Montreal woman late at night to go to a bus driver and tell her to drop her off between two bus stops so it's closer to her home, so she doesn't have to feel fearful walking home alone. And this has been rolled out in New York as well. Even though it's not a full system, New York bus drivers, by law, if a woman asks to get off between bus stops and is considered safe, they're supposed to let her off that bus. And the last part we're going to look at is harassment. It's great if we can redesign our cities to be better for women, to be more supportive for women, to be safer for women. But women still have to deal with harassment. I mean, we're not living in a candy-colored world over here. But the same situation has to be applied to it. It has to be empowering. We can't just go, well, that's life. And that's what they've done inside Egypt. Why do women not talk about harassment? They don't talk about harassment because it's shameful and embarrassing. Is it right that it's shameful and embarrassing? I mean, someone is harassing me. Why should it be shameful? Why should it be embarrassing? We need to give women a voice, and that's what they did in Egypt. They said, we get the situation, but it's really important that you help us take care of you. So they've put out an SMS-based system that's completely anonymous. It allows women to send out a signal via GPS every time they're harassed, describe where they've been harassed, why they've been harassed, and what was the nature of the harassment. This goes onto a crowdsourced map that volunteers put up, but it goes a step further. The police lock into this crowdsourced map, and they go to the places where they find hotspots and women need more help. What they also do, though, is they realize it's twofold. There has to be education. Other people have to understand that there's a problem in that area. So they have volunteer groups that then go out into these areas, and you know who they touch? The people on the streets. They go, you have your eyes and ears on the streets every day, you're responsible for that street. So they talk to doormen, they talk to taxi drivers, they talk to street vendors, and they tell them, the women in your neighborhood are being harassed, they're in fear. You see everything going on, you should speak out, you should do something about it. And they say that 9 out of 10 people that they talk to on those streets are so surprised by the situation, they promise to actually look out for the women in their neighborhood. So the next time you find yourself overwhelmed in a city, you find yourself stretched to your absolute brim inside a city, I'm sure you're going to cry, that's not going to change, but make sure that you realize that there is a space for us to solve this problem, but it is our responsibility to push for that change. Cities should be redesigned for the people inside them. They shouldn't be planned in a reactive and sort of chaotic and survival mode the way that they're being today, because that's why as women we are living in a reactive and survival mode. And that's not a long-term solution, and it's not good enough, because we contribute a lot to our cities. We deserve our cities to contribute back to us. So we need to build cities with women in mind, so that they feel safe, that they feel catered to, so they can do their best work, because we know when women do their best work, those cities run beautifully. Thank you very much.